So in this video, we're going to uncover the 5 biggest expenses that you're going to have in a retreat when you're planning it. So if you want to know how to A, not pay a ton, B, identify these top 5 expenses that you're going to have for your retreat and be able to plan more strategically and be able to actually be profitable at the end of your retreat. If you also want to learn about how to maximize your current circle of the people that you're already connected with to make these things come to life. So that way it's a lot easier, simpler, and you can actually execute on this retreat. And stick around, we're going to jump right into it. So I have already produced a ton of different events in my life, from the biggest places like an arena or festival grounds, and even retreat experiences. So in New York, Dallas, Orlando, Denver, Milwaukee, the list goes on and on. And what I've learned is that you're going to have 5 categories that are the most expensive when planning really any event. And we're going to dive into these 5. So the 5 are location, food, venue, AV, and staff. That's it. Any events, anywhere, but we're talking about retreats. So what does that mean? That means when you're putting together your spreadsheet of what your expenses are and what the costs are going to be, these are going to be the biggest ones that you need to beware. Big, like, I don't know how to make this anymore. The alarm sounding off. But this needs to be big and bold, because what happens is most people is they plan a retreat, they set a date, and then they start marketing it and putting it out there. And then they just kind of start incurring expenses with not any real thought process around it, maybe a little bit, but they're just like, oh man, it'd be cool to have it here. Or I did a quick Google search and now I'm just paying for this venue hall space or this hotel conference room space. They're not thinking through, these are the biggest expenses that you're going to have, because people just do quick Google searches or they ask a couple people, then they're down the tunnels of booking these things and paying big deposits. And they're like in the hole before they've really even marketed their thing. So we're going to help you navigate through that. So first, we're going to talk about location. So if this is your first retreat, rule number 1 is do it in your own city. Don't try to plan something super extravagant out in Maldives. Okay. Why? Because it's your first one. And I want you to win. So do it in your hometown or a place that you're very familiar with, because the more familiar you are with the location, the easier it is to plan an event. So location, rule number 1, definitely do it in your hometown. Rule number 2, if this is your first retreat, as far as location, do it somewhere that is for free. How do you do that, Jamar? Well, it's either going to be for free or very, very minimal cost. Because if it's in your hometown or a place that you already know and are familiar with, and if you're a business owner, you already know certain people in your circle that either they own a restaurant, they have a coffee shop, they have access to a venue hall, maybe they're a business and they have a nice building that they have their business in, and maybe after 5, like, the place is empty. So there's opportunity that you could maybe use that space. There are people that you can write down. So write down that list of people that have access to a space. Don't get out of your head of just the hotel conference rooms and venue hall spaces or wedding venues. Get that out of your head. You're planning an intimate retreat and you don't need a ton of space. You just need a space that has some privacy to it, which that means you can be creative. In all my retreat experiences, besides the 2 large conferences, I have gotten extremely creative as far as with how I'm sourcing the event spaces. I'm first tapping my network. So the coolest thing that you can do is when you're planning a retreat, first just announce that you're planning a retreat, even if you have nothing planned. It's the best thing ever, because it presents opportunities, right? that you didn't even know of. So what you could do is you could make a post and say, hey, I'm planning a retreat in my hometown. I'm trying to get connected to sponsors, to venues, to food, to AV, to people that have networks. You know, like, just start to announce this idea out to the world and just say, hey, if you know anybody, comment below. Best strategy ever, because you're getting that, and do this a couple times too. Do this a couple times. Maybe do some creative video with it, or some great photos of you or you with people, just showing, just try to paint that picture for people. And you want to do that because you're going to get comments, you're going to get messages of people that you didn't even think of that are going to say, hey, I got access to a space. But you got to paint that picture for people. You want to see what road they can go down. So you have to give them examples of what you're looking for. You can't just say, I'm looking for, a space in this. Like, say, hey, if you know restaurants, coffee shops, people that have nice office spaces, people that have access to different rooms that can hold around 20 to 25 people. Like, just be creative on how you're getting that out there. That's where your venue is going to be. So as you start to get those inquiries that come in, as far as people having those ideas, or, hey, I know this person, you start to go down that path of contacting them, messaging them. Then also what you want to do is just say, who do you know personally? And write down those names. Write down those names of people that you know that have access to those spaces. And you think like, oh man, I do know somebody that works at a coffee shop and they're the manager there. And maybe they can give you a space in the back room, because in exchange, you're going to host your retreat there. People are going to want to buy coffee. So they have a constant stream of people getting coffee, for the 2-3 days or however long your retreat is. So that's a great partnership, or a way that you can utilize the space. And if you want to move to multiple locations, really all you're doing is you're just sourcing out the opportunities, seeing the distance from place to place, and then seeing, is it feasible? Can I take, 5 people to 20 people to these locations? And what are the logistics? So that's how you choose. So that's how you choose your location. You choose your location by tapping into your circle first. If it's your first retreat, you're doing it in your hometown or a place that you already know. If it's not your first retreat and you're just trying to get better at this, you can pick a location that is already in your circle. That's where I always start. It's way easier than picking somewhere where you know absolutely nobody. And you're going to pick a place. And the cool thing is, the more retreats you do, the more people that will inquire about different things and ideas. And like, hey, I have somebody that I know that lives out in, Mexico, or, wherever. And they could be like, I got this one lady that, she connected with somebody in Hawaii. I think eventually I'll do something in Hawaii. I have no clue when or, what the time frame is, but I'll piece it together, because I already have that connection there and I'm growing other connections. And so when I'm ready and I have enough people I can tap into, I'm going to do something in Hawaii. So do something where you already know people, so you don't make this a lot harder on yourself. So that's how you pick your location. Super simple. And once you get better and better and better at it, then you can get ambitious to go somewhere where you don't know anybody. And then I do have methods and strategies and frameworks as far as how to meet people in a place that you're not even at. So there are ways to do that. And what I call that's brand positioning. So how you position your brand when you're making those introductions and you're getting connected with those people is how they will basically utilize you and see the value in what you bring, to see what the opportunities are. So there's a whole framework and method around that, but I want to focus on making sure that you're profitable and you're putting together a retreat that makes sense. So second, we're going to go into food. Food is your number 2 expense that you're having in a retreat, or really any events experience. So food. Now, you can't get all your food for free. Maybe some of you can, but normally you can't get your food for free. So because there's real cost to food. So what you can do though, you can create partnerships. So one thing that I always suggest is, don't just go through, if you're booking a hotel, they're like, hey, you got to use our provider of food, and then you're paying X amount of money to just only use that food provider, and then you're paying a ton of money. You're paying thousands and thousands of dollars. I don't want that for you. I definitely do not want that for you. So the best case is to create partnerships. So it goes back to, the trend, your circle. So who do you know that owns restaurants, that has catering companies, that has event planning companies, that are companies that already have access to different providers? Maybe could you use a food truck? A food truck is awesome because if you can position it correctly where the food truck is already there and you're already there on location, you're just walking over to the food truck, or a quick couple Ubers over to the food truck, you just solve your lunch problem or your dinner problem. And it's a cool experience. I mean, you get that authenticity with a food truck, and people, like, who doesn't like food trucks? The only thing you may run into is different allergies, or people are allergic to things, but a lot of food trucks have options too. So that could be something you could bypass. But like, food trucks is a great idea. You can go into places that, so when we did Milwaukee, we actually went into a space that already had like a food hall. So it was already a ton of different local businesses that have that sell food, drinks, and etc. But we just went into that space, gave everybody some cash, and said, "Hey, go ahead and pick anything. You got $20, 20 or $25, that you can go and pick whatever you want. And if you pick anything more, the rest is on you. So if you're getting drinks and all that other stuff, that's on you. But we're giving you at least $25 to go crazy. 20, $25. So think outside the box. I'm trying to get you to train your brain to think outside the box when it comes to planning a retreat, because it's going to help you not have to pay so much. The partnership can be, so once you've identified these places or have people in your circle, or when you put out that post, then as you're getting in conversations with people, it's not just about like, hey, how much is it? You also want to sell the vision of your retreat. So if your retreat is going to have certain perks for the retreat, can you offer that to the food provider or whoever's providing the food, or that business? Do they need what you have? Do they need access to the people that are part of the retreat, that you can give personal introductions, that maybe they would book or do catering with these food places in exchange for, hey, is there a way to get a slight discount? Or hey, they might even give you some of it for free, or all of it, who knows? But try to position the conversation around value. What can you offer? What does your retreat offer? Is there a lot of content that's being produced? Is there connections that you can do for the business? What else can you do to provide for that business in the partnership? Or is it truly like, I'm just buying food and they're bringing me the food? If that's what it is, that's what it is. But try to position it in a way, especially if you have personal introductions or know certain people that are in these spaces, you can create better partnerships that will lower your costs. Think outside the box. And it's a different way to frame something that you already need done. And you're doing that for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. The best thing is that if you already have a provider, or if you find somebody that they can provide for all three, that's the best case scenario. So you don't have to keep hopping around. But otherwise, like, try to build those partnerships there. And also, don't try to think that you need the cream of the crop for everything. You don't. Even at a high-end event, for an experience, people are trying to have just that, an experience. So even if it's high-end, you can create something that is still a memorable experience. It doesn't need to be top shelf everything. If in the morning, it could be just some croissants, some fruit, and some coffee and water and tea. Like, it doesn't, that could be it. You don't need to have a lot. Most people don't eat a ton in the morning anyways. They don't. So just think about this in a way where you can be a little bit more creative. Third thing, venue. So we kind of already covered this. I did location and venue kind of together, to be honest. Location, you're picking, your hometown or a place you already know, if this is your first one. But the venue, you're asking people about what are some spaces. So we already kind of covered this. So number 3 is kind of molded in with number 1 about your venue. And also just a plus or a bonus on venue is that get creative too with the space. It doesn't necessarily always have to be a classroom setup or a presentation. You can do stuff that's creative. Could everybody just sit on beanbags? Or can you utilize a space where people are just sitting in a circle with chairs? Can you be hanging out in a park for a piece of it? Maybe it's a free park and you're going there and you're like, hey, I'm just going to bring some blankets and people are going to be able to sit, and we're just going to have, in a section of the park that I know is not really used a lot, and we're all just going to hang out and we're going to have a session there. So just be creative. I'm trying to force your brain to think outside the box instead of thinking about your traditional networking type of event or these lavish retreats that those people are experiencing, and that they've been doing it for a long time. And so if this is your first one, you want to maximize and have a great experience, and don't think about all the little logistics that are going to get in your way. The fourth one, AV. So if you're having an event, when you're picking your venue, always ask, what are the AV capabilities? So if you have a place, do they have a projector? Do they have a TV that you can use? Is there a mic or mics that you can use? As far as if the space is that big and you need a microphone. A lot of times with a small intimate group, you don't need a microphone. Maybe just ask. This is great things to ask for. Is there a speaker? Can you plug into a speaker? Can you play some light music? Just see all the technical capabilities with this space. If there's a TV in a space, try to have an opportunity to put your logo up, or put up the event flyer or the event graphic up on the screen. I'm a really big believer in branding. People know at Forever Media, like, I hold the branding piece to a very high standard, because I'm trying to create once again the experience, and make sure that every time we go to a different location or different place, people know it's the retreat that brought them there. And that branding is a way to really always be playing a commercial of like, oh, this is why I'm here. I'm changing my circle. I'm leading the movement. I am creating my own movement, and we're all leading it together. That's the name of our retreat, is Lead the Movement. So always try to ask them for the AV capabilities. Is there a chance for video? Can you do photos in the space? Do you need to put up any kind of any piece of paper that just saying, hey, videography, photography is going to be here? Is that even allowed? So these are all things you want to be asking in each different space that you have, so that way you can see what the capabilities are, so you can maximize the experience. And I remember when we did it in Milwaukee, we had dinner. Now, my team didn't know that there was a TV where we were having dinner, but it was off. The TV was off. So I sat there, and I just can't help myself. But I just sat there and I looked at the TV and I'm like, did we know this thing was here? Because it'd be great to put our logo on it. Now, it was like the final piece of the event. We didn't put our logo on there, but that was like, once again, an opportunity that we should have asked for the AV side of things. Every single space that we're in, what are the capabilities? What do we have access to? Is there internet? Oh my God, that's another thing. Is there internet? Is there internet that we can use for the event experience? So all these things, like, you just want to make sure that you have a checklist of all these places, of all the questions to ask for each place. The last one, number 5, is staff. So how can you get your most expensive thing if you don't do it correctly? So if this is your first retreat, I would say that you do have a great opportunity to be able to talk to people that you already know that's in your circle, or once again, send out the blast a few times to see who's available to be able to volunteer. Getting access and getting connected and being a part of something bigger. People really, they want proximity to these things. And if your ticket price is a couple thousand, or if it's 500 or 750, if it's 1,000, whatever it is, if they don't have to pay and they could be in the room and build some connections, but also just do a little bit of work, people will be down for that. And you'd be surprised. If you have the capital or you have the means to be able to pay people, then pay them. But just know that if this is your first retreat and you want to make sure you're kind of being mindful of the budget, people will be willing to donate a little bit of their time for certain activities. So if it's like, hey, registration, I need some extra hands. Hey, I want some hands during the sessions, just to be able to pass up material, but then you can be a part of the sessions. I need somebody to get content and record testimonials and videos during the activities. And after the activities, would you be willing to do that in exchange that you can attend the experience? These are all things that that once again, you're looking for all the things that you need help with, and you're seeing, hey, who can be a volunteer in that space? The second thing for staff is, how do you partner? How do you partner with another business, with somebody else that is in a vertical that is in alignment with you? There's synergy there, but you're both doing two different things that you're partnering together to do an experience. So like the one we're doing in Denver, I partnered with Meredith Grundy, and we brought both of our brands together to produce and create this amazing retreat experience. We're both benefiting on the upside, but we know that we're both in it to work. We're both going to work this event. So from the marketing, the promotions, the logistics, the day of, the day, day before, day after, like we're all in, all hands on deck. And now we both have somebody we can rely on. It's not just all on us. And so that's the benefit, once again, of partnerships. Don't you see a trend? The trend is, because I wrote a book called Change Your Circle, Change Your Life. So everything in my brain is always thinking about, who do I currently know? What circles do I need to get into? And how do I get access to those circles? And if I could provide enough value, if I could figure out partnerships, we can have a great ecosystem and a way to do things at a lower cost, high value, and be able to have high impact. That's what's going to avoid you being burned, paying a ton of money. Like you literally could be paying. So for location, you could be paying thousands. For food, you could be paying thousands. Location, venues, thousands. AV, you could potentially be paying hundreds to not only over 1,000. It could be thousands depending on how many days your retreat is. If you're like a 5-day retreat or 7-day retreat, that's a long retreat, depending on what you have going on. And staff can get pricey. You could be like, hey, I'm paying everybody X amount an hour for all day events. And next, you got 5 people over 3 days, all day. Like that gets super pricey. It cuts into the profits that you could roll into whatever the next thing is. So utilize your circle, think outside the box, have partnerships, build real relationships. How do you add value? What value does your retreat bring? And how do you maximize the opportunity? And once again, I'm just going to remind you before you start going off on la la land, because I know you're thinking it. Start small. Even if you get opportunities that people present to you, start small. If this is your first one, start small. If this is not your first one, then what you want to do, you want to still kind of taper back whatever do you think the giant big vision is. Now, if you're super seasoned and you got the capital and you got a huge audience and like you can put up a little bit more risk, then okay, then take it. But if you're not there, start small. Do a day and a half retreat experience in your hometown. Create an actual experience about something that's different, even if it's local people, things that they've never done in unison together, or been able to go to these different locations or meet these different people. Like create a real experience around it. And trust me, it's going to help you in the long run. It's going to help you plan out this retreat and execute in amazing fashion. So if this has helped you, please like, comment, subscribe to the video, share this with somebody that's trying to plan a retreat. We have a whole series. So if you haven't watched the other previous videos, please go watch those on pricing and planning, the goals for your retreat. And we're going to roll into the next part of it, is really now tackled each one of those areas. And now we've tackled the 5 biggest really expenses that you're going to have for your retreat. And now it's about, how do I promote it? How do I market this thing? So that's what we're going to go into next. My name is Jamar Jones with Forever Media. And don't forget, if you could change your circle, you could change your life. Catch you on the next video. I'm out. Peace.